Hi guys, here we are, fresh off the boat. Took a shower to start this video, that's always good. And there's an American killing me already. It's been 3 days that I'm back and my friend is putting me through gym. I'm loving it, but at the moment I have no legs. That's why you're not seeing them here at the video. Well, I hope this video is actually of a public interest because what we're talking here today, it's about my process of immigration, coming back to the US, and how through this period of the COVID-19 of pandemic, what is the truth about it? Like we're seeing a lot of news and fake news about the borders and what's this whole process is being. So I hope that through my testimonial, this is gonna work a little bit like a journal of my experience through these past days. And I hope that you guys like it, share it with people who are going through the same process, the common doubts. I hope that clarifies for you guys. Okay, so you guys are used to see like videos here with theater content, movie content, a lot of my personal interests, and this is no different, but now I think it's gonna be of a broader public interest in that regard, very specific regard of immigration to the US. So what happened? Back in the day on May 4th, may the force be with you guys, this was supposed to be the date that I would be coming back to the US. I had a flight booked with Copa Airlines, it's a Panamanian company. And at that time, even the rate was a good price to purchase the ticket. It was not that absurd. And it would go from Fortaleza, where my family is established, to here, to Los Angeles. The issue started beginning to be Copa does not operate from Fortaleza to São Paulo. That's a domestic flight that they would schedule, they would book through a local company, either Latam, Gol, Azul. What was happening is that for 3 times in a row, I had to reschedule my flight for obvious reasons because of the pandemic around the world. What happened was, I think I started to have a bad experience with them because of the fact that not only I had a certain date to be present at the States, a limit date, stamped on my passport. The type of visa that I have right now is a E21, it's for exceptional abilities, and it's dedicated to advanced degree, it's dedicated to athletes, to artists, to scientists, who can prove that their scope of work is necessary to the country, it's outside of the curve, it's something that would really add to the culture of the country or to the knowledge or to the sports of the country. So it becomes a national interest in a way. It's a lengthy process. It took me around 2 to 3 years to go through the whole thing. On that specific visa, you have 10 criteria from which you have to meet at least 3 of them. And this can be another video if you guys are interested on it. Like, please just comment if you would like to know more about how was my experience with that. I'll be glad to share with you what I know, so in order for people to be helped through my experience. But here we are trying to focus on how was this transit in between countries, because we heard a lot about how the borders from Brazil to US were closed, especially because our representative is a dick. He sucks, and he really is going out of the way in regards to what the whole world is talking in regards to this disease. And I can say from my own experience again that we lost friends, we lost family, and this is no joke. They were diagnosed with COVID-19, and the end of this story, some of them, they recovered well, but some of them are not here to tell this story anymore. So while you might not feel it, while you think it might be an exaggeration of taking any sort of alternatives in sort of ways to prevent from this disease, what I can say is that I did lose people, right? So husband of my dentist, the husband of my teacher, my mom's friends, so it was very close to us. My sister's friends, their whole family got the virus. And a 29-year-old athlete, he used to do triathlon, and he was in the urgency care at the hospital. So it affects each body differently, and we should be aware of that. So how did it work? Well, I was having a hard time with Copa because they would always cancel my flight last minute, not even send me an SMS. a text, a telephone call, or email, I would always know last minute, and because of my own initiative of calling them. On the last time that this happened, I told them, look, I have a limited date to enter the US because of these reasons, being a permanent resident and entering the country for the first time. They stamp on our passport that time period that we are supposed to enter. So please help me. I do understand what's going on through the entire world, but if you do have flights, give me some sort of guarantee that this is not going to repeat. The supervisor guaranteed me that the flights would be kept and that they were struggling with the domestic flight, for which I suggested that either they would keep my international flights and book my domestic flight later as the days went by, or I would buy myself my own ticket from Fortaleza to São Paulo. And that's exactly what happened. I spent more on that. And if you're liking this video so far, and if it's been useful for you, please already subscribe to the channel, give us your like, share to the friends that you think this video might help. What happened was I booked my flight, and on the 3rd of June, I decided to call Copa. They did not send me any news, so I thought everything is okay. Let me check. I called them, and as you may know, they had canceled the flight. So then it's afternoon in Fortaleza, and I start talking to my family, what should I do? Because at this point, I'm not trusting them anymore to just wait for another month, because their next flight was supposed to be June 29th. By then it would be too risky for me to wait and then again have another frustration with them. I talked to my family and I said, you know what? I'm gonna go city by city. At this moment, we don't know which information we can rely on from the companies, from media, from whatever is going on around. I even asked my friends, like my friends who actually are receiving me here currently, Pierre, Tracy, and then Sam. I asked them if they could see any like official governmental information in which I could grasp to, you know? What we were able to find out was, well, the land borders from Mexico and Canada are still closed to US until the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of June. If you're coming through car or through train, you're not gonna be able to cross the borders until then. But through flight and through ship, these borders are not closed, and that's important to be known out there, because a lot of people are spreading things without knowing it properly. So another thing that's true, yes, you do have to hold a green card. That meaning you have to be a citizen or a permanent resident, which is my case. I was a bit fearful because I had not entered the country before, so I did not know if I was gonna face any sort of difficulty because of that specifically. Well, I went from Fortaleza to São Paulo, arrived there late at night on the 4th of June, and then immediately I went through all the different companies trying to see first if they were open, because the airport was very empty, not many people around. In Fortaleza it was like a desert. In São Paulo there were people, but very few people, very few quantity of people. And just like exchange houses open inside the airport, as well as some food establishments, right? Some food chains were open as well. Everybody with masks, everybody keeping the social distancing, which was very important to see and to go through that. The whole embarking on the aircraft also respected that. You always have some people who don't respect, and that sucks. For the most part, everybody was very conscious about the whole process. Here's the information that you guys are being waiting for. From Brazil to United States, currently, till this date, United is the company operating daily with one only flight. It's 11:30, which in Brazilian time, like on our metric system, is 23:30, right? So as a nighttime, they don't allow you to book the flight on that same day. You have to have a gap of 24 hours. And what they have been doing for that, I think is for their own control, how many passengers they will have. What they do is they put the rates very high. So a ticket, which was normally like 2,000 reais, which you can divide by 6 nowadays, or 5.20 something, you find the price. Now it's 17,000, so it's almost the price of a used car or a motorcycle. It's crazy. As well, the Wi-Fi on Guarulhos Airport, São Paulo Airport, sucks. So they give you 2 free hours to use, but you try to access and you cannot even open Google sometimes. At least that's what I faced. Which meant I ended up sleeping at the hotel. I have a lot of friends and family there in São Paulo, but I really wanted to solve it quickly, and would even be a bigger of a hassle and a cost to leave the airport and come back the other day. So I decided to sleep at the hotel. It's a branch called Fast Sleep. Very simple, small rooms, but it does the job of you like getting some proper rest. The bathrooms are very clean. They are shared, but they are constantly being sanitized. They even have a sticker to identify whether the bathroom is good to go or not. Well, the other day, there I was trying to access the internet to buy the ticket. Impossible. I start asking my friends from United States, my friends from Fortaleza, because my parents do not have that experience to buy a ticket through the internet. They were afraid of doing something wrong. And then I start accessing these people because as the day goes by, again, I would lose the opportunity of buying the flight because of the 24-hour gap that I told you guys. All of this is happening. I end up being able to call United. By the way, an American phone, so that was a long distance call. I was able to book my flight for not that night, but the night after, which would mean another day at the airport and another day with no entertainment, basically like barely being able to talk to people through WhatsApp, and that was about it. Or getting fat on some food chain, and a lot of laying down on those chairs. Waiting, and time would not pass by. One good thing about the company as well, and I have to say, is because they have the duty of not only selling and the responsibility of like taking you there, they certify that you actually have the right through these times to actually enter the country. So they talk to the American consulate to verify if in my case I was able to get in. On the night before, they got a picture of my passport, they got a picture of my envelope, my sealed envelope that I had to show to immigration, and then the consul said that everything was good to go. Well, on the day after that I bought the ticket, supposed to come here on 6th of June, when it came to nighttime, I went to the store and I asked them to actually advance my ticket, if I was able to fly that night, if they had space on the aircraft that I could actually fill in. And that was possible at no extra cost, because you know, on normal times, all these companies are trying to get your money whatever way they can, even though you already bought it, even though they have space, so they would not sell that space for anybody else at that point, you know what I mean? But they don't lose the chance to even take more money out of you. In this case of the pandemic, they're not charging anything more than you already paid. They were able to put me there in that flight. But once again, when I was doing the check-in, the American consul wanted to verify all the information again. And I don't know if you guys know about that, but we used to have the right of 2 luggages of 32 kilos on an international flight. Nowadays, what's the rule is 1 luggage of 23 kilos, and then you buy the second one. So for someone like me who's bringing his whole life back to his home, it's very limiting. So I wasn't able to bring everything that I needed. Anyway, there I am resettling my luggage because I was a few kilos over what was allowed and everything was good. But then you have the American consul again checking your information. And of course, as a human being who's been through pressure through these last 3 years, with this whole health situation going on, with people that you already lost, with you trying to get into the country, with you losing your flight for 4 times, of course, you're shaking a bit. But I try to remain calm. And I'm pretty sure that you guys, on a situation similar to mine, you can relate to how that feels. I remained calm and I just waited. She called Washington and they verified and they said everything is good, so we're good to go. We're entering the aircraft. Here, Here is where I want you to subscribe to this video, like, share with people who you think this video might interest you. I hope you guys are liking what you're hearing. And here's where the story starts to be interesting. For the simple reason, if we're taking all this precaution, if we have just one flight operating, if it's all limited right like that, because at this point, American Airlines, Delta, LATAM, Copa, none of them are having flights to the US. And the entrance is through Houston. Because at some point, I even thought maybe I go to Mexico and Canada because, well, Canada is close borders with Brazil at the moment, but Mexico is not. So I was like, maybe I go to Mexico, wait the 14 days of quarantine. They're gonna be able to see that I'm coming from Brazil, that I spent 14 days in quarantine because it's gonna be stamped on my passport the day of entrance, right? And then I go to the US. But guess what? To go to Mexico, the flight is through Houston. So I was like, okay, so we have this transit to US to go to Mexico. It doesn't make sense. So I'll try United States. And that's what happened. So my flight, I ended up being able to buy, not on the store, because on the store from United, they were offering just to Houston as the final destination. And then through the phone or through the website, I was able to book all the way to Los Angeles. So this is good for you guys to know. I get my flight towards Houston. My carry-on is waiting a lot because with all the evidences from the sealed envelopes that I have to bring to immigration, I was concerned about that because they say you have to bring all the evidences, all the sealed envelopes on a carry-on, but guess what? The carry-on was weighing 20 kilos and the allowed kilograms are 10 kilos. I was like, if they question me, well, what can I say? I can only say that the government wants me to bring this carry-on and there's no other way. I cannot put my bag I cannot dispatch my bag, right? Anyhow, I get in the aircraft and it's at its full capacity. What does that mean? It means that all the social distance bullshit per se, when you come to the aircraft, that's not being respected. You see the whole airport being sanitized, and you guys are gonna see the videos that I'm gonna post here soon. It's amazing, it's an incredible job, and I really take my hat off for these workers because this is very important. But then when you get to the aircraft, you see a video of them saying that they are sanitizing the aircraft and everything. But guess what? You're around another 200-300 people, side by side. There's no because you may think maybe they're gonna sell just the half of the capacity, and then people are gonna be spread out through the aircraft, considering the air conditioner, you know? And when it's time to go and get your food, when they serve your food, they have all that concern of telling you, oh, this was pre-packed, there is no human contact to it, so you guys are good. But they don't give any sort of recommendation like, guys, let's take turns on feeding you guys, like we're gonna orient you this or that way. No, everybody eats at the same time, so everybody takes their masks off. And this is the moment where it's more critical because then you can have the particles, you know, from your saliva as you eat from the air conditioner. Who knows? I think that if we're going through this whole kind of precautions and everything, this should be a part of the process more taken care of. We receive a form inside the aircraft to fill with basic information on where's our final destination, like our address, our telephone, and if we've been presenting any sort of symptoms through the past days, where we're coming from. And it's pretty straightforward, very simple form. And then as soon as you land, as soon as you arrive, they have all this healthcare staff checking up on you, asking you if you're okay, if you feel anything, and then they point these laser guns to check your temperature. Everything was fine, so they just hand out you a card advising you to keep this first 14 days at home. Well, I have not been presenting any symptoms for the past 3 months, which I think it's a good thing to do. Anyhow, after being exposed on the flight, I think that would be the more cohesive thing to do. Although, once I arrived in LA, I couldn't help but be part of what's gonna be in our history books. Because situation like this, I think we've never lived before, right? not only the pandemic, but also people having enough of certain attitudes, and certain attitudes that somehow are being kept day by day, year by year through the governments, and not being of public issue or concern. And people are saying this is enough. So as you guys might know, we have this whole against racism protest happening in the United States as well as in Brazil, because guess what? African American was killed here in the United States, an adult, and in Brazil it was a kid. So I think when it comes to even dealing with kids, whatever subject it is, and especially being about race and death, then it's a big issue, and then we have to say enough. So I couldn't help myself, and then my friend, she invited me to go to one of these manifests. It was very good because despite on what media is putting out there, it was actually very calm, very pacific. I felt that energy of people binding and wanting to hear someone else's perspective. There was a good participation of kids in the crowd, also some young people serving as speakers, and that was pretty, with spoken words, that was pretty inspirational to see that the new generations, baby boomers, Z generations, they are already getting educated. And I think that's the answer for everything, for all our problems. A lot of our problems are actually a lack of communication, a lack of information, a lack of knowledge, of knowing someone else's perspective about the world and being able to step in their shoes in a way. But not only step in their shoes and admit any kind of absurd, because with that premise, there in Brazil, people are using that premise to understand a guy who's not mad, who's not crazy, who's actually someone that's very perverted in a way of like doing bad things, like using the military, using the aggression, using the force to do things. And that we can put up with. So it's not a matter of just stepping in someone else's shoes for whatever reason. It's actually like getting educated, getting cultured. And I think the lesson for us here is invest on public education, invest on art, invest on culture, because this way people can bind in a different kind of level. They can learn about themselves, they can develop creatively, and they can be more united for other people's causes. It's a very interesting time that we're living in, because being at home has allowed so many people not only to feel anxious and feel empty about how they've been living, but also reflecting upon what they want to do with their lives despite just working. Well, here I am. I went through the health checking, I went through immigration. I can do another video in that regard if you would like to know how was my immigration process, how was the visa process, how long did it take, what were the steps. I can do another video in that regard. I just wanted to say that the immigration was fairly simple. They take a picture of you, you put your fingerprints, they head you to a room in which they're gonna do some questions as again, where you're staying, what's your contact information, they stamp your passport. Here I am, my third or fourth day in California. Really happy to be here again with my friends. There's a lot of uncertainty too, not only because of the period that we're living in. Of course, money is still what levels us up, and that's a concern for me here. How am I gonna work? How I'm gonna reestablish my career here? But at the same time, I feel very accomplished because a lot of people were involved in helping me be here where I am, and to see that this process is possible, that you can do it yourself, that people helping you can actually do it. One thing I'll say about my visa case is a self-petitioner case. So if you don't have enough information, don't just go hiring a lawyer like I did. A person who had no experience in my case whatsoever. I had a bunch of evidences already prepared, and the guy was failing even like which address we should send it to. So be careful when you choose someone to hire for your visa process, whatever visa process it may be. In this case, this guy was recommended by my school, which is even more frustrating. And then later on, they find out that the guy is not trustworthy. So just be careful in that regard. And then I hope that this video, despite being a little longer than expected. It's giving you guys a broad information how it worked for me. Alright, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe.